What if one of the most influential personal finance books ever written left out the very thing most people need to build wealth? For more than 2 decades, Rich Dad Poor Dad has inspired millions to think differently about money. It challenged traditional beliefs, encouraged financial education, and introduced readers to concepts like assets, liabilities, and cash flow. But there's a problem. Many people read the book, feel motivated, adopt its mindset, and still don't become financially successful. Why? Because while the book teaches people how to think about money, it leaves out critical pieces of the puzzle. Pieces that determine whether financial freedom remains a dream or becomes reality. Today, we're going to explore why Rich Dad Poor Dad is dangerously incomplete, what it gets right, what it leaves out, and what lessons modern readers need if they want to build real wealth in today's world. And by the end, you may never look at personal finance advice the same way again. The book that changed everything. When Rich Dad Poor Dad was published in 1997, it arrived at the perfect moment. For decades, people had been taught a simple formula. Go to school. Get good grades. Find a stable job. Work hard. Save money. Retire comfortably. Robert Kiyosaki challenged this entire framework. Instead of focusing on earning a paycheck, he encouraged readers to acquire assets. Instead of working for money, he suggested making money work for you. Instead of blindly trusting traditional education, he emphasized financial education. To many readers, this was revolutionary. The book became a global phenomenon. Millions bought it. Millions recommended it. Millions saw it as a roadmap to financial freedom. And to be fair, some of its lessons remain incredibly valuable. The problem isn't what the book says. The problem is what it doesn't say. The missing piece: execution. One of the biggest weaknesses of Rich Dad Poor Dad is that it focuses heavily on mindset while providing very little practical guidance. Think about it. The book tells readers: buy assets. Avoid liabilities. Build passive income. Think like investors. These ideas sound great. But how exactly does a person earning an average salary do these things? What assets should they buy? How do they evaluate investments? How do they manage risk? How much money should they keep in savings? How should they handle debt? The answers aren't really there. It's like telling someone they should become physically fit without explaining exercise routines, nutrition, recovery, or consistency. The motivation is powerful. The roadmap is incomplete. And many readers become trapped in a cycle of inspiration without implementation. The myth of escaping employment. One of the book's most famous messages is that employees are trapped in a rat race. The implication is clear. Owning businesses and investments is superior. Working a job is limiting. While there's truth in this idea, reality is more complicated. Many successful entrepreneurs started as employees. Many investors built wealth using income from traditional careers. Doctors, engineers, software developers, accountants, and skilled professionals often accumulate significant wealth through disciplined investing. A job isn't the enemy. For most people, a job is the engine that funds future investments. Without income, there are no assets. Without savings, there is no capital. Without capital, investing becomes difficult. The book sometimes creates the impression that employment itself is a problem. In reality, employment can be one of the strongest wealth-building tools available. The key is what you do with the income. The reality of risk. Another area where the book falls short is risk. Throughout the book, entrepreneurship and investing are often presented as paths to freedom. And they can be. But they can also lead to failure. Businesses fail. Real estate markets decline. Investments lose value. Economic conditions change. Many readers become excited about taking risks without fully understanding how to manage them. The financial world is full of survivor stories. We hear about the entrepreneur who became a millionaire. We hear about the investor who bought properties and retired early. We rarely hear about the thousands who tried the same strategies and failed. This is called survivorship bias. And ignoring it creates unrealistic expectations. Successful wealth building isn't just about taking risks. It's about taking calculated risks. That's a crucial distinction often missing from motivational finance advice. The power of boring wealth. Here's something that doesn't make for exciting books. Many wealthy people become rich through boring decisions. They live below their means. They invest consistently. They avoid excessive debt. They hold diversified investments for decades. They don't chase every opportunity. They don't constantly look for shortcuts. In fact, some of the world's most successful investors built enormous wealth through patience rather than dramatic moves. Yet patience isn't exciting. It doesn't sell as many books. It doesn't generate viral headlines. So readers are often drawn toward strategies that sound more glamorous than effective. The truth is that sustainable wealth is frequently built through discipline rather than brilliance. And that's a lesson many people never hear. The problem with the asset definition. One of the most famous concepts in Rich Dad Poor Dad is the distinction between assets and liabilities. According to the book, assets put money in your pocket. Liabilities take money out of your pocket. This simple framework is memorable, but it can also be misleading. For example, the book often criticizes home ownership. Yet for many families, purchasing a home has become a major source of long-term wealth. Not because homes always generate cash flow, but because they can appreciate in value while providing stability. The real world is more nuanced. Some assets generate cash flow. Some assets appreciate over time. Some provide utility and quality of life. Financial decisions aren't always black and white. Reducing everything to a simple formula can sometimes create confusion rather than clarity. The education gap. Ironically, a book that emphasizes financial education often leaves readers without a complete education. Understanding money requires knowledge in many areas. Budgeting, taxes, investing, insurance, retirement planning, behavioral psychology, risk management, economic cycles, negotiation, career development, estate planning. No single concept can replace these skills. Building wealth isn't one lesson. It's a collection of interconnected skills developed over years. Many readers finish Rich Dad Poor Dad believing they've unlocked financial wisdom. In reality, they've only opened the first chapter. The real learning begins afterward. Why mindset alone isn't enough. Personal finance culture often emphasizes mindset. Think rich. Act rich. Believe in abundance. Develop an entrepreneurial mindset. These ideas can be useful, but mindset alone doesn't pay bills. Knowledge matters. Skills matter. Habits matter. Systems matter. Imagine two people. Both read the same motivational book. Both become inspired. One develops valuable skills, increases income, invests consistently, and learns financial management. The other only consumes motivational content. 5 years later, their outcomes will be dramatically different. Motivation starts the journey. Action determines the destination. The income problem nobody talks about. One major weakness in many financial freedom discussions is the assumption that everyone has significant money available to invest. For millions of people, that's simply not true. They're dealing with rising housing costs, healthcare expenses, education costs, family responsibilities, inflation, limited income growth. Before discussing investment strategies, many people first need to increase earnings. Income is often the foundation of wealth building. A person investing 10% of a growing income may outperform someone obsessing over investments while earning very little. That's why career development, skill acquisition, and professional growth deserve far more attention than they often receive. The fastest path to wealth frequently begins with becoming more valuable in the marketplace. The hidden role of luck. This is a controversial topic. Many financial gurus avoid discussing luck. But luck matters. Being born in a stable country. Access to education. Meeting the right mentor. Entering a growing industry. Investing during favorable economic conditions. Avoiding major health crises. These factors influence outcomes. Acknowledging luck doesn't diminish hard work. It simply recognizes reality. Success usually involves a combination of effort, skill, opportunity, timing, and circumstance. Ignoring luck can create unrealistic expectations and unfair judgments. Understanding luck encourages humility, and humility often leads to better decision-making. What modern wealth building actually looks like. If someone asked for a complete framework today, it might look something like this. First, develop valuable skills. Second, increase earning power. Third, build an emergency fund. Fourth, eliminate destructive debt. Fifth, invest consistently. Sixth, diversify. Seventh, manage risk. Eighth, continue learning. Ninth, avoid lifestyle inflation. 10th, stay patient. Notice something interesting? Most of these steps aren't flashy. They're not exciting. They're not secrets. But they work. And that's what matters. The psychology nobody can ignore. The biggest obstacle to wealth often isn't lack of knowledge. It's behavior. People know they should save. People know they should avoid unnecessary debt. People know they should invest regularly. Yet many don't. Why? Because humans are emotional. We seek immediate gratification. We fear losses. We follow crowds. We make impulsive decisions. Financial success is often less about intelligence and more about emotional control. Someone with average intelligence and excellent habits may outperform someone highly intelligent with poor discipline. This psychological dimension deserves far more attention than many finance books provide. What Rich Dad Poor Dad Gets Right. Despite its limitations, the book deserves credit. It introduced countless people to financial thinking. It challenged assumptions. It encouraged entrepreneurship. It sparked curiosity about investing. It motivated readers to take control of their financial future. Those contributions are significant. Many people began their financial education journey because of this book. The issue isn't that the book is wrong. The issue is that readers often mistake a starting point for a complete roadmap. And those are very different things. Final thoughts. Rich Dad Poor Dad remains one of the most influential personal finance books ever written. But influence and completeness are not the same thing. The book teaches mindset. What it doesn't fully teach is execution. It promotes assets. What it doesn't fully explain is risk. It celebrates entrepreneurship. What it doesn't fully emphasize is the value of stable income, skill development, diversification, and patience. Real wealth isn't built through a single idea. It's built through thousands of decisions made consistently over time. The most dangerous mistake isn't reading Rich Dad Poor Dad. The most dangerous mistake is believing that reading it is enough. Because financial freedom isn't created by inspiration alone. It's created when inspiration is combined with knowledge, discipline, patience, and action. And that's the part of the story many people never hear. If they do, their entire financial future can change.